So, like a vegan just sticks to meat, or like no, it sticks to this vegan diet only. Yeah. But vegetarians, they aren't so. They do like that. They do like the. Okay, I don't know where I'm going with this. I probably should stop there. I'm trying to explain the difference between vegans and vegetarians. So otherwise, actually, might actually just Google this. I'm gonna try and start doing this more, so I kind of know what I'm talking about. So let's just Google the difference between vegans and vegetarians. The difference between vegans and alright, okay, I've got it here. Vegetarians don't eat meat, poultry, or seafood. However, there are different types of vegetarian diet. Lacto-ovo vegetarians eat eggs and dairy products. Vegans don't eat any animal products, including honey and gelatin. Right? So vegans don't eat animal products, but vegetarians don't eat meat or anything like that. So there is a bit of a difference there. But the point being was I'm not a vegetarian or I'm not a vegan or I stick to that one thing or I'm just going to be eating this one thing. I try to go for a bit of both. So I'm mixing up my diet because there are people that have carnivore diets and I believe January is the month.
You are about to experience the James Rambling Show, hosted by James Bay.
Hello, welcome back to the James Rambling Show for yet another episode. And in today's episode, I'm going to be talking about food and not necessarily hot takes on food. We're getting rid of that. I'm just going to spend an episode or two talking about the food I enjoy, the food I don't really like, the ideas around food, going to the shops, buying groceries and cooking and stuff like that. So, to start off with, I thought I would talk about how I've had I've really liked like cheese, bread and eggs. Right there, these essential things of life, and food is just a very natural thing. Everyone talks about it, and cheese, bread, and pizza, and all of that stuff is some of the stuff I've enjoyed. There was this period in my life when I went down this egg there was this time when my granny would just give me eggs all the time, and I would eat eggs for a very long time, and it became a thing that I really liked. And after a while of eating too many eggs, I didn't really like eggs anymore. But recently, I've learnt how to cook eggs now, so I'm getting back into eggs, I put it off for a while, but then I just had eggs again, and I still like them. So it's that thing of if you eat something so much and you're just sick of it, then after a while you get you get into it again. And then there was bread. Bread is like an everyday occurrence, like no matter what, like life, like the bread. There's that saying, the best thing since sliced bread, because sliced bread is like one of these things that people for a very long time have ate. And you put it on toast, and there's days when I spend days eating toast on putting like Philadelphia cheese on it, jam, peanut butter. I could even dive into some of the interesting mixes I've had with food, but I've just had these days where I'm eating toast, or there's sometimes when I eat yogurt for breakfast and stuff like that. And then obviously you've got your pastas and your pizzas. Like the pizza stuff is, for a very long time in my life, I liked pepperoni pizza, and pizza for a very long time has been one of my favourite types of food. And I've had it for a very long time, but then I kind of realised, there's more to life than pizza, but it doesn't mean I just eat pizza, because over time I've sort of got away from it, and ventured out and tried different things, and that's kind of what you need to do. You can't just stay eating the same things all the time. You got to mix it up, and that's another reason why I don't eat I don't eat a lot of junk food or fast food. It's like every 2 months or every 4 months or every 6 months. I just try to mix it up a little bit. And that's what we've been doing in my family. We've been trying to mix up the dishes because if we're eating the same things all the time, we're gonna get sick of it. And you can apply that analogy to any other kind of thing. If you do the same thing all the time, obviously you're gonna get bored of it. Obviously you want to try something new. Obviously you want to, stuff like that. So there's definitely that, and and the kind of eggs that I've learned to make is scrambled eggs. So the method is you get this bowl, right, and you smash 2 eggs into a bowl, and you make the egg. Get a fork, you get some butter, you kind of like stir it, put it in the microwave for 30 seconds, and then stir it a little bit, put it in the microwave for 30 seconds, and then just stir the yolk in the middle because if you don't really do that, you don't get a complete egg that looks really scrambled. And so that's kind of a strategy that I picked up from my dad, is that kind of thing. And to go into that similar note there, I don't really cook food. Like usually my parents make the food. I'm the guy that barely cooks anything. I kind of either microwave it or not. There's not. I've just not been that guy, and there is a time in my life when I never really did the dishes after we eat dinner and stuff like that. But then I've learned to do that as well. So I've picked up these skills and stuff like that. So I do want to go back to pizza because there was this time in Scotland when we were having this pizza joint called Zucchino's. I mean, we'll probably dive in. I might dive into more pizza chains and stuff like that. And the pizza in Scotland maybe in a future episode. Who knows? We'll see. Just to talk about Scotland more, but Zucchino's this place, this Italian pizza restaurant, takeaway thing, and there was this time when I ate majority of the pizza in my house in Scotland, and my family didn't like that obviously, and that's been a thing. I've just ate a lot of pizza, and there has been times when my parents are out, I go to Pizza Hut and order 2 pizzas at once, and then you wait 15-20 minutes for the pizza and stuff like that. And there are different types of pizza, like Hawaiian pizza and meat lover. And I did that hot takes on food thing, saying a Hawaiian pizza, blah blah blah. There can be those times when people don't like Hawaiian pizza because it's adding fruit to this thing, but it's okay. But cheese pizza isn't like the greatest pizza. It's just standard. It's good for what it is, really. So you have those pizzas. Then there's like vegetarian pizza, which I do like vegetarian pizza. But when you make it, I feel like sometimes you kind of need to reduce the amount of fruit you put on a pizza, if you know what I mean, because you're not going to taste that cheese and the tomatoes and stuff. So there should be times when you should sort of put less fruity stuff, and that's another thing. Like fruit is another kind of food that you kind of want to eat your 5 a day sort of thing. Your vegetables and stuff like that. You got to maintain that diet, and I wouldn't say that I'm a vegan either. I'm more of an omnivore, which is a combination of a carnivore and a herbivore, where you're eating meats and vegetables at the same time. You're eating a bit of protein, you're eating a bit of steak, and then you add a bit of a bit of like lettuce and cabbage and potatoes. Well, not potatoes. Potatoes are carbs. So you're adding salad, you're adding lettuce, and you're adding your meats and stuff like that on top of that. So that's how I kind of go with it. I'm not at that mindset of, oh, I've just got to eat and stick to this one side of, oh, I like to eat only vegetables and vegan. But I think there's a difference between vegans and vegetarians. I don't want to go too much into it because I don't really know much about the subject itself. but there is a kind of a difference with them because I'll actually I'll try and explain it. So, like a vegan just sticks to meat, or like, oh no, it sticks to this vegan diet only. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But vegetarians, they aren't so. They do like that. They do like the. Okay, I don't know where I'm going with this. I probably should stop there. I'm trying to explain the difference between vegans and vegetarians. So otherwise, actually, I'll just Google. Might actually just Google this. I'm gonna try and start doing this more, so I kind of know what I'm talking about. So let's just Google the difference between vegans and vegetarians. The difference between vegans and alright, okay, I've got it here. Vegetarians don't eat meat, poultry, or seafood. However, there are different types of vegetarian diet. Lacto-ovo vegetarians eat eggs and dairy products. Vegans don't eat any animal products, including honey and gelatin. Right? So vegans don't eat animal products, but vegetarians don't eat meat or anything like that. So there is a bit of a difference there. But the point being was I'm not a vegetarian or I'm not a vegan or I stick to that one thing or I'm just gonna be eating this one thing. I try to go for a bit of both. So I'm mixing up my diet because there are people that have carnivore diets, and I believe January is the month of the carnivore, the world carnivore diet or something like that. And if hearing it, been listening to Joe Rogan recently, and he's been saying that he's been going on this carnivore diet, and yeah, you can definitely see that January is the carnivore diet. Actually, let's see why this is even. Why is January the month of what's it called? Carnivore diet. Right, okay. Oh, the stupid flies everywhere, but okay. January is World Carnivore Month. This time I'm adding fruit to this data. Okay, no, it's just a Google search thing, but it's World Carnivore Month. So people will go for this carnivore diet and just eat things that carnivores would eat, so like meats and stuff like that. So so yeah, there's definitely that. There's definitely that. So there is another thing to do with food that I should probably share. Like there's tonight for dinner. I tried out some salmon fish, and I never usually eat salmon, but it was really good. I think it was really good, and we had this other thing with it, like this kale chips thing. It's like this green thing, and it's good to an extent, but then it's just this has this kick that I don't really like. And then we had eggs and then mushrooms, and that's common, like eggs, mushrooms. But fish, I want to talk about fish because there's this type of fish I really like calamari. I love calamari. That's one of my favorite pieces of types of fish. Then there's like battered fish, and there's all these other types of fish. And I have been fishing before, and I've never really talked about it. And but well, but that's like I could do that with camping experiences because that delves more into camping, and because you go fishing when you're camping. But like yeah, so like the fish, there's types of fish. There's things I don't like about fish or the way it's made. But I'm gonna save that for the next episode where I delve into the sort of the sort of food I don't like. Because if I split it into two, then it'll just become one episode, and it might turn out to be longer than it should be. So there's that, and there are times, especially right. You sometimes when you gain weight from eating food, because I must say that like back in 2017, I believe I was really chubby. I was just really chubby, and didn't really. I just was chubby, and I wasn't losing weight and stuff like that. And that's what food can do to you. If you eat food a lot, you're gaining weight, and it's bad for you. And that's a good thing to mention because food is you don't want to eat so much food. You want to sort of try and there's that you just want to try and not eat so much food constantly. And then you have that idea of fasting, which is about just going off and not eating for a certain amount of days, but you want to still eat food. Like, there's no time when you should be like, I'm never eating food ever again, because food is so important. Like, it's like saying you never drink water again. It'd be a scenario when you're in the Sahara Desert and, you'll be out of breath and stuff like that. So you don't really want to not eat food, but you just don't want to eat food all the time. You want to balance that out. So there are times when I do skip lunches to sort of eat all of my dinner, because on that note, there definitely are times when I don't eat all of my dinner because it's either that I don't like the food itself, or it's because it's too much for me, or there's times when even if I don't skip lunch, I ate something prior, an hour or two prior to when we had dinner, then that means that when I eat the food, I'm not eating the entire thing because I've already consumed this amount of food, that I'm not going to be eating food the entire plate. I'm not been doing that. But then there is time, like there's always but that's what I want to do. I've over the years, I'm like, I want to really maintain my metabolism and not just constantly swallow it down, just eat it, eat it, eat it, eat it. I want to slow down and take a drink, drink some tea in between it, drink some milk in between it, so I don't want to rush my food. But then there are those simple dishes that take like pasta, that like macaroni cheese, for example, like one of my favourite dishes. And that takes about maybe like 10 minutes to eat, because usually you're not putting so much on it. Right, it's not some like Christmas dinner situation where you're having chicken and you're having all this stuff stuffed onto this one plate. You're just getting a decent amount of, or like a portion that isn't too big, so you're able to eat the entire thing, and that's definitely a thing. And obviously, when you're eating dinner, you eat with forks and knives. And I don't really eat pizza with forks and knives either. I try to stay away from it because okay, there are people. I don't judge people for doing it, but I just think that the whole point of eating a pizza is you're holding it in your hands. So using forks and knives with pizza doesn't really make so much sense. But there are times when I do it, and then there's times I don't. So I'm not judging anyone who actually does it. And chicken. So my real thoughts on like chicken, I like chicken, and I mentioned it there. I did the bone-in versus boneless, but I'll actually give you my proper take on that, not just a satire. So my actual take on chicken is, I do actually like the taste of the bone from KFC, but I don't. It's not entirely good for you to eat bones. It's like eating the fat off a steak. It's not always good for you. It's not really good for you to eat steak on you, like the fat of steak. So eating the bone of a chicken isn't good, but it is good. Like, it does taste satisfying and stuff like that, and then you get the spicy chicken wings and stuff like that. So I mentioned earlier about my mixtures, like the mixtures I have. There's times when, yes, I did mention noodles or whatever with tomato sauce or whatever. Like, I'll go on podcast try to like exaggerate it, and yeah, I keep talking about the hot takes on food, but I'm just referring to it just to remind you that this isn't what we're doing anymore. So that whole thing was to do with, right. So the mixtures I have, I sometimes I mix tomato sauce with noodles. Sometimes I do. There's like this period I just mix this thing, like all these sauces like mustard, and there are times when I have sandwiches and I put like luncheon, like this thing you get. It's like pork chop kind of thing. So I'd have that, and then I have butter, and then a bit of peanut butter, a bit of Vegemite, maybe, bit of mayonnaise. Oh, okay. I do not mix mayonnaise with butter, but I do like a variation of condiments. Like, I like to mix it up a bit. and get a little adventurous up in here. So that's one thing that I personally love doing. Is I don't do it all the time now, but I do like tuna pasta with some tomato sauce as well. Bit of that, bit of that, bit of that. And so yeah, there's that as well. So another thing to add on to this whole food thing is that what other things are there to talk about with food? Like there's so much food out there. Yeah, I would mention like Chinese food and all that stuff. Wait, I just remembered, right? I actually like sushi, and if you've been following the podcast and stuff like that, you know I have a bit of an interest in Japanese stuff. So back in 2020, I want to say, I went to this sushi shop in Victoria Street, was this place in New Zealand, and we had this sushi. It was really nice, and you put the soy sauce on it, and then I do like me some dumplings. That's very good indeed. So you have the sushi. It was good. It's just like a sushi roll. It's very good actually. It's very good food. Like sushi, there's sushi, but and then there's like ramen. There was this time, right, during my like really super duper anime phase, right. I don't know if I mentioned this on the podcast before, but I had this phase when I ate ramen. I tasted this ramen, and I was like, if I don't finish this ramen, I'm not a true Japanese culture lover or whatever. And it was so spicy, and I forced myself to eat it, and it was just, man, it was really spicy. And that's the thing. I don't really like spicy food, but 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 we will get into that much later. Much later. So ideally, I don't really know where else to take this episode. So I really like my eggs. I really like the pizza. I really like bread. You know, the idea about how I try and mix up food, and I'm not just a vegan or I'm just like an omnivore eating a bit of meat, and I'm eating a bit of like your greens and a five a day and all of that stuff, and then all of the stuff in between that. So I just thought I would provide something like this. It's no opinionated thing. We're not out here saying this is what I thought about this. But there is a bit of that in here. It's just a bit more of talking about food generally and the kind of food that I enjoy and the ideas around it. So that's where I will leave this episode, and I'm not gonna cover the entire thing about food. I wanna try and just dense it down and get to the point. So there you go. See you next week for the next episode of the James Ramblin' Show. We will talk about like food I don't like. Although I have just remembered that chocolate. There's this thing about chocolate and like your like desserts and stuff like that. I might just okay. I just remember this just popped into my head. I was gonna end the episode and then this just pops into my head like just like that, right? Just like that, off the cuff, no script at all. We'll spend maybe another 10 minutes. I'm sorry, man. I just thought of it. So So chocolate is a thing that I do like. Like you get your Cadbury and then your M&Ms. There's this whole situation about M&Ms, but we're not going into that. We're not diving into that. But there is M&Ms and Maltesers. I love a good old Maltesers. I love Kit Kats and all of that stuff, and I really like that stuff. And I'm a bit of a sweet tooth myself. Like I love ice cream and I love ice cream that I like the boysenberry, and there's this one place that like has this real fruit ice cream and it's just amazing. Like wow, it's just amazing. It's a very good place, I would say. It's a very good place to go if you want to see like there are ice creams that just it's like yeah, it's like so much chocolate and all that. And there are times when you go to these bakeries that have so much fat, not fat, but like so much sugar, and there's things that have so much sugar and it's not good for you. And you have all that stuff. But I just think that, yeah, I do like my ice cream, but there is some desserts that I'm not really a big fan of. Like if I were to say, I'm not really the biggest fan of like cheesecake. Like cheesecake, don't get me wrong, like everybody likes it, but I'm in my opinion, I don't really, it's not like a go to thing for me. I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. It's just a thing that I'm not really over the top about, and like, oh yeah, we're going it tonight, we're getting cheesecake, stuff like that. Yeah, there's ice cream. There's like chocolate pudding. I love chocolate pudding, stuff like that, and yeah. So I love that stuff. I love that stuff definitely. I love a bit of chocolate, a bit of Mars bars, and all of that kind of thing. It's just very, very good to eat. It's like food that's good. That is like satisfying on the taste level, but when you come to think about it, there's too many calories in this thing. So yeah. Just like that, I've extended the episode out because I thought of something else, and that's why we do it here on the James Ramblin' Show. We go off the cuff. I try and just be as natural as I can for you every single week. And I said, we'll go for another 10 minutes, but I do want to add that we're going to be talking about restaurant experiences I've had as well in the next episode. So while we're going to be diving into the types of food I'm not the biggest fan of, I'm going to be diving into my thoughts of like, or not really thoughts, just telling you my experiences of restaurants, like what kind, and like takeaways and what it's like, all that stuff like that. So I hope you enjoyed the episode. See you next week. Bye, man. I've really have went off today. I've had this episode. I've put it off because I've just been really enjoying the heck out of Yakuza 7 right now because I finished Yakuza 6. Don't forget we'll make a review of the Yakuza series. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the episode. Right, sorry for this. I'm just rambling, aren't I? Bye. Bye. Oh my god, turn the video off, please.